everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Caitlin and I post Disney videos and lifestyle-y kind of content on my little corner of the internet. And if you are a returning subscriber, hello and welcome back. Thank you so much for coming back. So today I'm going to be doing, as you can probably tell from the title, how I plan and how I book my Disney dining. My How I Planned Disney Vacation video went up and a lot of people found it very helpful and very useful, but I still got a lot of questions about dining and the dining plan, so I figured that I would make this video next, and I think I'm going to kind of make it a series on my channel. It'll be a short series, but a series where I basically just talk about different Disney planning and how I just kind of like how I do things. There's one way to know how to do something, but then it's another way to see how someone specifically does something. I find that helpful, so I thought I would share with you all how I do things, if that makes sense at all. So I'm basically just gonna go kind of step by step of how I sort of break things down. I'll do a couple clips where I'll show you kind of actually on the website how to do things, and yeah, and then any external links or any external like devices that I have, I will link all down in the description below so that you guys are able to look at them and able to navigate everything for yourself. So the first thing I do when I am planning out my Disney dining is that I determine a budget. And the reason why I kind of say budget is just, it's kind of a loose term. So basically what I mean here is, what are my main goals or main ideas for where I want to eat? So do I want to eat quick service? Do I want to eat table service? Do I want to have a character breakfast? Do I want to do a signature meal? Or do I want to just use credits? Or do I want to pay out of pocket? There's a lot that goes into it. So basically it's whatever your personal preference is. This one specifically, I'm going to talk mostly about using dining plan credits, but I will throw in like tips if I think of it about if you are paying out of pocket. So most of these will be based on if you're on a dining plan, and then also it's more so on if you are on the regular Disney dining plan, which is one table service, one quick service, or if you're on the deluxe dining plan, which is all table service, or it's all just like kind of like whatever you want. So it's table service or quick service, it doesn't really matter. So that's basically the first thing that I do, is that I determine what I will be doing, where I'll be eating, like what idea of type of food that I will be eating while I'm in my trip. The next thing that I will do is I will do a ton of research. And I said this in my last video, and I will probably say it in every single video. Research is key when you're planning a Disney vacation. So obviously, if this is your first trip, if this is your 5th trip, if this is your 20th trip, there's always going to be things that you don't know when you're going, because there's always going to be new restaurants, there's always going to be places that you haven't tried, there's going to be places where the chef has changed, there's going to be places where the menu has changed, everything. So I always do research no matter what. Even if I've eaten there in my last trip, I'm still going to make sure that I know what's on the menu, I know where it is, I know what I need to know going into my reservation, or going to book my reservation or whatever. So my 2 main places that I go to when I'm trying to do research, I guess 3 main places. Number 1 would just be the Disney World site. On it they have a ton of information. They have all their different meals. You can sort it by quick service, by table service, by character meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, like whatever you want, you can search and you have everything there. So if you want just a basic kind of, you know what is there and what's available, Walt Disney World obviously does a great job because it is their park, so they obviously know the most of like structurally what is there and what is served. All the menus are on the Disney site, so if you go into a specific restaurant, so let's say Be Our Guest, and then if you go to the side, there is a little spot that says View Menu, and you can click on that, and then you can select breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or whatever meals that they serve at that specific restaurant, and then it tells you exactly what's there, it tells you exactly the price, everything. So you can be so prepared when you're going in, knowing how much you're going to be spending, what you're going to be eating, what options you have. This is great because if you have really picky eaters, or if you have an allergy, or just anything, you know what you're getting yourself into. You're not sitting down at a restaurant that you've booked like months in advance and you realize, oh my gosh, I can't eat any of this food. So that's like the #1 place to go. And then where I personally like to go is I like to go to DFB, and I've mentioned her in my last video and I will mention her again in most videos. She is just an awesome source of information and just honest reviews and just up-to-date, great, yeah, just like information. So DFB is Disney Food Blog, if you don't know. She is on YouTube, and then she also has a blog, and she just does great dining reviews. She gives updates on the parks. She kind of does it all. I think there's a team of them that do it, but I keep saying she because AJ is like the main voice of all the videos. So that is definitely a resource that I like to use. And then also before our honeymoon trip, I looked up a lot of kind of places where couples could eat, or like romantic settings, that kind of stuff while you're in Disney, and I came across the WDW couple. And they are a couple who live in Florida, and they do a ton of dining reviews on different places around the resort, around property, and it's just the two of them. Sometimes they're with other people, but it's more of an adult setting, and they do more of an adult take on things, which I really appreciated, and I loved watching their videos. They have incredible content. Like, just for a dining review, their content is just like through the roof. So I will leave their channel down below in case you want to check them out, but I would highly recommend. Austin and I binge watched basically every single one of their dining reviews before we went, and that was one of the main reasons why we booked probably half of the like restaurants that we booked during our honeymoon trip. So my third tip, or kind of as I'm going through the list here, after you've done your research, this is where I go to my spreadsheet, and I've linked this in I think 2 other videos, and I will link it again. This is the spreadsheet made by Charlotte Ruff, who is also Little Miss Chicas here on YouTube, and basically she just has it a super easy way laid out that in your plan it goes day by day, and then on each day you have spots where you can throw in all your reservations. So the way that I like to do it is I like to roughly just plug and play, and that's like my next tip. So basically just kind of, if you know what you want and you know like if you know what restaurants you want to eat at, you just throw them in and you just kind of start plugging and playing. You just kind of figure out what's going to work for you. So things that I like to take into account while I am planning my dining. So if a park is only open until 6 o'clock at night and you want a dinner reservation in that park, maybe it's not best that you pick that night. Or if there is fireworks going on and you want to watch fireworks from in the park, then know the time of the fireworks and make sure you're planning your dining reservation with plenty of time on either end. They say that normally it takes about if you're doing a sit-down meal, it takes about 1.5 hours to get through the actual meal, but I like to give myself about 2 hours if I'm trying to get somewhere afterwards. Planning to see the fireworks and then going to dinner is a lot easier than planning to have dinner and then getting a spot for fireworks, in my opinion, but I mean, we've done it before, so it's not impossible. But yeah, so that's something to take into account. Shows, events, anything like that. It's just things that you have to, again, go to the research, figure out what's going on in the time that you're gonna be there, and just making sure that you know exactly what's going on and you're planning in order of what makes sense based on like location, travel time, where you are, all that kind of stuff. So after I've given myself a rough estimate of what I want to be eating and where I want to be eating, that is when I will go into my booking. And so all the first part of this video, basically I do this all months leading up to my 180-day mark. So if you don't know, 180 days is the time frame of when you can start booking your dining reservations. And yes, 180 days is a long time before. I think it's 6 months before your actual check-in date. But some of them do book up that fast. I'm telling you right now, some of them literally book up within like, I think it's like minutes of when the kind of things open up. So basically you go in at your 180-day mark at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you can go and you can book all your dining, and you can be done with it. A tip on that, if you're a resort guest, so if you're staying on Disney property, you have your 180-day mark for the entirety of your vacation. So on your 180-day mark, so the day that you check in, on that 180 days before that, you're able to book all your meals for, if you're there for 7 days, all 7 days of that trip. If you are staying off-site, you can only book 180 days in advance to the day. So you would have to, if you had a 5-day trip and you were staying off-site, you would have to go in 180 days before each day to get each reservation. So that's just kind of like how it works. That's one of the perks of staying on Disney property. To actually physically book the reservations, all you have to do is, I find it easiest from the computer. You can do it from your phone, but if you're really stressing to get those really hard to get reservations, I would recommend doing it from a computer because it is a lot easier. It is a lot more user-friendly. Basically, all you do is you go to your restaurant that you want, you open up that tab, you go into the side and it says reserve or whatever. There's a little calendar and you just go into the calendar, you click on the date that you want to reserve for, and then you pick your time, and then it'll spit out one similar to that time if there isn't anything like around it or whatever, and then you just go through the process of booking. Some places, I think all reservations you have to have your credit card on file, but some places actually will charge you beforehand. So I think like Cinderella's Royal Table will charge you beforehand, and Hoop-de-Doo charges you beforehand. So make sure that you're aware of that. But for the most part, every single time it books a reservation, when your credit card's on there, you won't get charged. It's just so that it's on file in case you don't show up at your actual reservation, then you get charged $10. Okay, I'm trying to get through this fast because I talk so much about it, because there's so much that you have to know when you're booking and planning and deciding on what you want to do. So I just wanted to give a couple tips that I have for when I'm booking, or just tips on how I plan and all that kind of stuff. So tips for booking, I would say select your start selecting for booking based on priority. And what I mean by this is, if you know that you're gonna eat at Tusker House on your first day, you're going to eat at California Grill on your second day, you're going to eat at Crown and Rose and Crown or whatever on your third day, and you're going to eat at Be Our Guest on your fourth day. In order, don't go in order of days, go in order of priority of what you want to do the most and what is going to book up the fastest. So in that 4 cases, I can't remember the first 3, but Be Our Guest is always a top priority no matter what. That's one that always sells out super, super fast, so you really want to get those reservations. Try and get that one first, and then go back and get the next best thing, which would be like California Grill or like, I don't know, whatever. Basically just go in that kind of order. And then also for hard to get reservations, I would say to try and get those for later on in your trip. And here's my reasoning for that. So to try and get the harder reservations, it's easier to get them later on in your trip because less people have that time slot than in the beginning of your trip, because more people have gone into your time slot already. Does that make sense? I really hope it does. If it doesn't, ask me a question in the comments and I will be sure to help you out, but that's kind of like my best way of describing it. And then also for trying to get hard to get reservations, try for off times. If you're trying to get a dinner reservation for Be Our Guest, don't try and get it for 5 or 6 o'clock. That is the main time that most people eat dinner. So maybe what you could do is try and get it for an early dinner. So if you could get it for 4 or like, I think like 4:30, like that's a little bit earlier. Or if you're okay to have like a later lunch and then a late dinner, you could try for 7 or 8 o'clock, because those times are less busy, because a lot of people with young kids, they have to stay on a schedule, right? So they're always having lunch at 12 and they're having their dinner at 5. If you're okay with being lenient about it, try and get those off times, because there's a lot more reservations available because less people are trying for them. Woo! Whew, okay. I feel like I have been talking a mile a minute for that, but I hope that was helpful. Those are like my biggest tips of how to plan your Disney dining. I really hope that this was like that I was able to help you in some way, or that I was able to make it a little bit more clear or understand it a little more and give you some tips on the best way to get your Disney dining reservations. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you are having a trip or if you're booking your dining reservation soon, because I would love to hear, and I would love to hear what your top ones are that you really want to get. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!